A strange anime I remember seeing lots of imagery of back in the day, with gorgeous animation and tons of bloodshed, is simply called X, or X 1999, even though it came out in 1996. It's an odd one and incredibly confusing, but mostly probably the fact that it's trying to condense 18 volumes of manga into an hour and 40-minute movie. Well, I don't know anything about the manga, but I specifically remember multiple scenes of this movie sticking in my head as if they were from some kind of dream. It's one of those films that I genuinely cannot remember if I watched it as a kid or if I only saw parts of it and clips from various AMVs I downloaded back from Kazaa. And yeah, if you know what Kazaa is, you're probably old enough to remember this movie as well. The main reason I wanted to talk about it is because I feel like it falls in line with a lot of the classic 80s and 90s anime films that I love and that I've talked about on this channel. But this one had escaped me for many years, and I never even knew what it was called. It's just called X. Also, the title of a pretty good horror film, but there's no relation. Although I said it's confusing, the premise is actually relatively simple. It's just good versus evil. Superpowered beings battle for the fate of the world. Some are powered by dragons of heaven, and others by dragons of earth, all taking place in the city of Tokyo and leading to an ultimate confrontation between the protagonist Kamui Shiro and his childhood friend Fuma, fighting on opposite sides of the war. There's also sacred swords that are inside of people's bodies, various powers like being able to create floods from nowhere, putting up dimensional barriers around the battle sites, and enough dream and nightmare sequences that you could probably make an entire other movie simply out of that. But honestly, these are the coolest parts of the film if you ask me. I'm sure there are some great character and story stuff going on here that are explained in better detail in the manga or in the anime series, but as far as the movie, which is the only one that I've seen, I suppose it is a bit of style over substance, but that's not always a bad thing. I love the way this film looks. This is the kind of aesthetic that I think about when I think of the word anime. That kind of expressive style that anime used to be known for. Intense, traditional, hand-drawn awesomeness that has not been replicated in way too long. And it has this blend of atmospheric horror alongside epic large-scale battles, and with all of it taking place in a cityscape, the backgrounds and the layouts of every scene feel so grimy and lived in and have this terrifying feeling that the chosen grounds for an apocalyptic battle would involve so many innocent people around it. The main character, as presented in the movie, is pretty standard, a chosen boy that's meant to save the world, but by the end, in his final fight against his friend, you really do feel a lot of pain and anguish about him having to partake in something that's destroying his past and, more importantly, his youth, his childhood. It's a traumatic coming-of-age moment. The way the powers are depicted are also really cool here, even without all of their abilities being explained to you. It's sort of like this bizarre sorcery and magic that you would associate with ancient times, but is now being forced upon the modern world. Well, the 90s, if you consider that to be modern. But trying to compare it to something more modern, I guess it's like when characters in Invincible start fighting one another in the city. You see the true horrors of the destruction that such powerful entities can cause. This is like that, except they use more magic and spiritual forces to fight. And there's also enough violence here to satisfy the gorehound in you. Now, this movie is not nearly as violent and bloody as something like Ninja Scroll or Wicked City, but it doesn't hold back in a few sequences, and most particularly in the dream scenes, where the violence is truly exaggerated, but it keeps it dark and gritty enough to still feel horrifying even if it starts to become over the top. Now, there is an anime series version of X that, obviously not under the same time restrictions, is able to tell the story much better. According to sources I hear online, it's actually really, really good. And that makes perfect sense, but I personally am only familiar with the movie so far. But I can just get lost in the imagery of something like this. I love the way it looks. Noticing all the little details of the cityscape or seeing the sci-fi technology that's thrown in and knowing that every aspect was done by hand. And I can't find any current examples in animation that give me the same kind of chills as I get when I look at artwork like this that's on display. I was happy that I found the title of this movie after all of these years. It's ironic that there's so many dream sequences in this movie, and my memories of this movie literally feel like I had them in a dream. Having found the title, I rewatched it recently, or maybe this was me actually watching it in its entirety for the first time. But when I think back to the early days of discovering anime, this is something that I know I saw pieces of at the very least, and it absolutely scratched my itch for some of that classic anime flavor. With modern times changing the way that animation is done and AI art on the rise, I think it's good to go back and watch something like this, to just remind ourselves how creative and interesting animation used to be and the true passion of the artist that went into it. I'm not saying that X is a masterpiece by any means, but if you need a little bit of that old school anime flavor, I'd say check it out. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think of X or X 1999 if you've seen it. Do you like the anime film, the series? Have you read the manga? Or is this something brand new to you? Anyways, let me know what you think down below. Thanks for watching. Give it a like and comment to help it out in the algorithm. If you want to support the channel on a deeper level, I do have Patreon, channel memberships, and all the social media links where you can follow me down below. Other than that, guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time.